A lot of sellers ask if an open house is really worth it. There are definitely pros and cons. So some sellers say, it seems to me, especially if we still have less inventory and more demand than supply, that if somebody is genuinely interested in a home, they'll make an appointment as opposed to just casually dropping by. So, maybe it doesn't make sense to have an open house. That could be true. But let's talk about some of the reasons not to, and maybe some of the reasons to have one. So that sentiment is not wrong. People who are seriously looking for homes or their agents are, watching the new listings and then trying to jump on them and make time to come see them as soon as they come on. That said, it's not always convenient from a time perspective, or people are out of town, that kind of thing. So they can't always make appointments. We'll get back to that in a little bit. But some of the other reasons that people don't like to have open houses, sellers, is you have to get out of the house for usually a minimum of 2 hours. Open houses usually are about 2 hours, but the agent needs time to arrive and get everything set up and then close up. You always have people that linger at the end. So you're probably looking at least 2.5 or 3 hours out of the house. And some people do open houses that are 3 hours. So then you'd need to add to that. If you have kids or pets, you have to find somewhere to go, and that can be challenging. So that's one negative. Of course, and in general, this is true when you have your house up for sale and you might get a showing. It needs to be clean, everything needs to be put away, but never more so than for an open house when you're going to be potentially having a lot of people look at your home. So you're going to have to tidy up and mop the floor and clean the sinks out and all of that stuff for your open house. Similarly, that large group of people tends to dirty up the house. You get footprints. So after you come home, because you might have showings the next day or something, you may have to do another light cleaning. So kind of annoying, but it might be worth it. You also have to make sure, more so than when you're having individual appointments where everybody is accompanied by a licensed insured agent, that anything of value you have, if you have medications, those should all be put away. If you have jewelry, if you have sports memorabilia or other collections, you either need to put those things away, or you might want to ask your agent if he or she can bring an assistant to be in another part of the house and sort of monitor those things so that you don't have people just unescorted wandering around you don't know where. Another thing about open houses is that you really can't control who comes in. Agents do ask people to sign in and provide a contact information, but when somebody comes with an agent for an appointment to see your place, in theory, that agent knows the client, they know that they have a pre-approval, they've talked to them, and they are committed to wandering through the property and the outside with that client. When people come to an open house, as long as they sign in, you can't pick and choose who gets to come in. So if you think there are just people who have nothing else to do and they're not really interested in buying and they might just be going through your home, it's not too much you can do about that at an open house. And that is a big reason for some people not to have one. The last thing is the nosy neighbor comment. A lot of sellers say, it's just my nosy neighbors who are going to come. They're not going to buy a house. You may not be wrong. However, and this is sort of a segue into the pros of having an open house, they may be looking because they have a friend or a relative who is considering moving, and they, from a selfish perspective, would love it if the person would move into their neighborhood. So don't discount the nosy neighbor as having zero value. So other reasons that you might want to have an open house. So getting back to what I started with scheduling, there are some people who can't commit. They have jobs where things just come up and they can't commit to a certain time, a certain day, but particularly on a weekend, if there's a window from 1 to 3 or something, they may be able to manage to come to that and see the property where it might have been more difficult to schedule an appointment. For people who have already seen the property, an open house is a great opportunity for them to come and take a second look, often to bring the parents, those kinds of things, which are not usually welcomed during a set appointment. So that can be a good opportunity for someone who's seen it to see it again and maybe fall in love that much more. Another big advantage to an open house, if it is busy and there are lots of people there, is that busyness telegraphs to any potentially interested buyer that there's interest in this property and that they shouldn't just sort of sit on the sidelines and wait around and see what happens and then maybe miss their opportunity to make a bid. Additionally, if they see a lot of other people, they may make a stronger offer than if they were not aware of other interests. So it can be really good from that perspective. There is one agent in our area who almost exclusively allows her properties to be shown only for a 2-hour window, and that's why she does it. So that everyone who's looking sees all these other people looking and says, oh, wow, this is a hot property. I better get my offer in and it better be really strong. One final note is that if you have an open house and there's an open house banner and there is an advertisement, for example, on Facebook or on Instagram, any way that your agent would be advertising it, it's just additional exposure for your property. Whether somebody's going to try to come to the open house or not, they will just see more information about your property if it's being advertised because of an open house. So open houses aren't for everyone. There's no guarantee they're going to benefit you, but they can. So just keep an open mind and decide what makes the most sense for you.